Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your instant reaction to Erik ten Hag's press conference reaction for Reaction West Ham. So lots to talk about. Martial injury setback. Can Rashford and Ronaldo start together? Big boost to have Donny van de Beek back. Erik ten Hag has been speaking about all these things and we're going to digest his press conference. Obviously, it's a little bit different to when we normally get a press conference on a Friday. When we play Europa League football on a Thursday, they actually do the press conference for West Ham straight after the game, and it's embargoed until around lunchtime the following day. So this has been in the can for for quite a few hours now. What Erik ten Hag has said, and you'll see everything getting released now at 1:30 by all the outlets because they've been sat on it for as well. The big thing I want to start off with, and I don't know whether everyone else will sort of highlight this, but the thing that I want to start off with is Erik ten Hag was asked a question by Simon Stone: does he want more goals from this team? We've scored 16 in the Premier League this year. Arsenal have scored 25, and Manchester City have scored 36. Good question. Answer: elite. Ten Hag says it takes time to develop a team. Mic drop. And it's absolutely correct. I spoke about this a few weeks ago about how after the Brentford and the Brighton losses, it was very clear that Erik ten Hag went back to basics, build the defence, keep clean sheets, grind out results and build from the back. And we've built the back. I mean, I know it's a bit dodgy now with Varane out, but we built that back five. We stopped conceding goals. We then brought Casemiro in, and the midfield has been built, and now the attack is looking a lot better against Chelsea and Spurs and last night as well. So gradually you're seeing the three phases of the Ten Hag build: defence, midfield, attack, and now it's about consistency, as we know. But I thought it was a brilliant answer from Ten Hag because it's a good question from Simon Stone. I've got no problem with that. Arsenal and Man City have scored a lot more goals than you. Do you worry about goals? We're not scoring enough goals. But the answer is what the answer is. And Ten Hag said it. It takes time to develop a team. He said, I'm impatient. I want it to be ready now, but it takes time to build a team. And we're defending better as an 11, and the build-up is improving. And I think that it's very, very clear that in that answer, there's a hidden answer as well. And the hidden answer is this. We've scored 16 Premier League goals. Arsenal have scored 25. Manchester City have scored 36. It takes time to develop a team. How long has Arteta been at Arsenal? How long has Pep been at Man City? I think Arteta's been at Arsenal coming up for 2 or 3 years now. Pep's been at Man City for double that. So you can see the progression. 16 goals for us, 25 for Arsenal, 36 for Man City. There is a correlation between time at the club and development. So very good answer from Ten Hag. It's spot on. He's impatient. Every football fan's impatient. But it will take time, and he's only been here 3 months. We're not going to be scoring 36 goals after, however many games we've played. We're not Man City. We haven't got the infrastructure. He hasn't had the time, and he hasn't had the backing yet. If you take away what makes a player, where is the romance and synergy with the kids watching when they see a bit of skill? Football skills should be encouraged, says Arjun. I think he's talking about Anthony in there. So let's break down what he was asked about. I suppose we'll start off with Martial, potentially the only injury story for the game ahead of West Ham. And Ten Hag admitted there had been a setback with Anthony Martial. AU11 says, hi Mark, wouldn't it be a good idea if you did a post-match reaction with Speed or just a video about United on this channel? A11. I mean, I think it would be very, very popular, but I don't think Speed's analysis of Manchester United is up there with even our ex-players at the moment. I mean, he loves Ronaldo. I don't know that he knows our starting 11, to be fair. So, I'm sure it'd be entertaining, and we can ask him. Hi, Mark. Wouldn't be good. Okay, we've done that one. Just a reminder. I'm randomly wearing our Christmas jumper. Of course, I'm reminding you, just to let you know, the Christmas jumper is available for pre-order. October the 31st is the day where it gets launched. So they're going to start getting delivered from next Monday. Obviously, it'll take a bit of time if you're worldwide. But if you want to get your order in, they are running out fast. We haven't got loads left. Christmas jumper, knitted. Links in the description. We do ship worldwide. It's our first ever knitted jumper. And it really commemorates 20 times. So you've got 20... 20 titles, 13 of which are Premier League and 7 of which are the old Division 1. There's a number 20 on the back, which you can just more or less see. There's words on the arms, managers on the arms. It's a cracking Christmas jumper, and it will be the envy of any office, Christmas party or family get-together, especially if you've got fans of other clubs in your family on Christmas Day. So get your order in. We do ship worldwide. When they're gone, they're gone. Links in the description for that. Always good to remember why you're wearing a Christmas jumper. Anyway, back to the show. MVP so far, Mark. Most valuable player, is that LS Colston? I don't know what it means. Someone in the chat let me know. Anyway, he was asked about Anthony Martial. And will he play before the World Cup break? So we're not even talking about West Ham now. We're talking about, will Martial play before we play Fulham 2 weeks on Sunday before the World Cup break? And I suppose it's a really good question again, because what's your thoughts? Should Martial play before we break for the World Cup now? Now, obvious answer is yes, but is it worth it? Is it worth using Martial in these next 2 weeks? Or do you just say, no, let's get him right. Let's not put him into any competitive games. Let's take these 2 weeks to bring him back gradually. And then we've got 5 or 6 weeks until Boxing Day games. Let's just give Martial a steady, slow recovery. We've got these 8 weeks before he needs to play. Do we do that? Now, nobody's posed that question. I don't think anybody's thought about that question. It just dropped into my head. Jules has pre-ordered the jumper. Thank you very much. But I suppose it's worthwhile. I mean, Jenks says it's not worth risking the injury. What did Erik ten Hag say about him playing before the World Cup? He says, I hope we'll have him before the break, but he's not team training at the moment, so we'll work with what we have. He was asked if there'd been a setback with Martial, because, of course, a couple of weeks ago there was talk that he was going to play. He said, well, the setback was Everton, where he literally had a setback. His back was the problem. It's been very frustrating for everybody. It's been very frustrating for him. And it's a shame, because he's, Ten Hag even said, he's ideal for the press from the number 9 position. He's very, very good at that. So, look, Martial's not going to be involved against West Ham. We definitely know that. We've got a big game against Sociedad next week. I think at the best he would be on the bench for that, even if he was going to recover well. From what we understand with Martial, he's running around and he's doing grass work on his own, but he's not training with the team. So, and that's no guarantee with Martial, is it? I mean, he could break down again. It's a tough one. We all want him back, but yeah, I don't know how we deal with this issue. I mean, I think we all want him back and then staying back. We don't want him back and then it's another injury. And of course, the worrying thing with Martial, it's been 3 separate injuries. Back, Achilles, and was it hamstring or something? So 3 different injuries. It's a concern. And I think we are entering that phase now where we're 2 weeks until the World Cup break. Is it worth bringing him back, or do you just go, let's add that 2 weeks to the 5 weeks off and really get him back properly? So we'll have to wait and see there. But I think Ten Hag admitting that this is taking a lot longer than everybody would have thought, and it's frustrating for everybody. He was also asked about buying a striker, and his answer was very correctly, look, we're not thinking about that at the moment. We're thinking about the immediate games in front of us, and we're thinking about we've got to work with what we've got, and that's what it's all about. He was then asked about Cristiano Ronaldo. 3 goals for Ronaldo this season. Last season, he got 18 goals in the Premier League. He was asked if those days are over for Cristiano Ronaldo scoring that amount of goals, to which he said, well, no, it's not over. It's up to him. I look back at the chances that we've created in the team over the last few games, and he's still capable of scoring that amount of goals in this team. And he was then asked about whether Ronaldo would be out of the team on Sunday because it's the Premier League 11, and he said, "I don't have a Europa League 11 or a Premier League 11. I look at each game and I look at the strengths and the requirements of that, and then within that Plan A, you've then got a Plan B and a C in game. So I don't have a Premier League 11 or a Europa League 11." And I don't think he does. I think that we go into games as United fans, and we go into seasons as United fans, and we think, yeah, we're going to have a Premier League 11 and a Europa 11, and it's just not worked out like that. And that's probably by design, really. Ten Hag hasn't looked at those 2 games against Ammonia, who aren't very good, and gone, I'm going to pick a load of reserves. He's gone strong. He went strong last night. And the encouraging thing about that is that when you get Garnacho starting last night, it's not a sympathy vote. It's not a rotation vote. It's because he felt that he was the best player to play off the left. And if Sancho had been playing well, Sancho would have played. So that's encouraging. Mark, why is there no shipping to South Africa? Sorry to get off the point. I don't know, Dale, because I don't do the shipping. So I don't know about that. I can ask the question. Just on Garnacho, by the way, Samuel Lucas in the Manchester Evening News mentioned this morning that progression is moving well on a contract for Garnacho. I believe his contract is up at some point in the next 18 months. I don't know whether it's next summer or the summer after. Obviously, there'll be a lot of interest in him. There always is with our young players that are good. But Manchester United are happy with the progression there, and I think him starting games for United, playing with Cristiano Ronaldo, I don't envisage a problem with Manchester United getting him on a contract, and I think that'll be a very positive thing. He also said, just to add on to that about Ronaldo and Premier League team, Europa League team, he was asked about, well, is Rashford and Bruno your preferred front two? They've done quite well, and he said, well, I think Ronaldo and Rashford played very well last night, and it worked well. So look, I don't know what people think about that. We're going to do the preview at 8 o'clock tonight, and we'll do it live, and we'll have a chat about it. But he has mentioned a few times, Erik ten Hag now, that he's happy with the way that Ronaldo and Rashford played last night. It's a different team, of course, but yeah, he seems quite happy with that. He also referenced Donny, which we'll talk about in a minute. But before we talk about Donny, because it was a very good question about Donny as well, and it was a very good answer from Erik ten Hag. I'm quite excited about that. He was asked about, again, this issue that Manchester United traditionally have of playing against teams that sit deep and make it difficult for us, and we tend to do well against teams that want to play football and open up against us, and we've seen that, of course, against Chelsea. He said, look, we saw against Sheriff that we can be patient, we can be good on the ball, we can be dynamic, and we can break these teams down. And it's good preparation for playing West Ham, who are a team that will come to Old Trafford and sit deep and try and counter. But he said, we've got to be more dynamic on the ball. We've got to be good on the ball and dynamic on the ball, and we've got to be careful of the counter. And West Ham have got better players. They're a better team, and it will be a bigger challenge. So it is a big challenge on Sunday. Look, we're not playing Man City and Liverpool next week. We're playing West Ham and Real Sociedad. Is that a reminder of where we're at? Of course it is. When you're at the bottom of the mountain, if you want to get to the flag at the top and go, look at me, here I am, you've got to climb up smaller barriers to get there. And Sociedad and West Ham are not where we want to be, but they are barriers that we've got to leap to get up to where we want to be. That's the journey. When you fall down the hill, you hit a lot of rocks on the way down. You don't automatically just jump back to the top of the hill. West Ham on Sunday, Sociedad on Thursday, massive games for Manchester United and massive games in the context of our season. We need to follow up Chelsea and Spurs' positive results with a win against West Ham on Sunday. And we need to go to Sociedad on Thursday and beat them by more than one goal so that we don't have to play an extra 2 games against a third place team from the Champions League in February, where we don't need those games. We don't want that. Look, I'm sure it'd be very exciting if we got Ajax or Barcelona, but we don't need those games. Let's play Ajax and Barcelona later on in the tournament if they make it. Giannos says, I'm excited for this journey with Ten Hag. My fear are the Glazers, like always. We're playing well and I'm enjoying it after 10 years of fearful football. Thank you very much for that super chat there. I want to talk about Donny now, but I actually tweeted this about half an hour ago. I was watching the Ten Hag press conference in preparation for this show. And look, I've always been very passionate about Ten Hag getting the job. Ridiculous passion. If you look back in March and April, I didn't think the club would appoint him. I knew you wanted him. I knew I wanted him. I was very vocal about it. We did loads of videos about it. We did loads of tweets about it. Not because I thought it would make any difference, but because I wanted it known that the fans wanted Ten Hag. And I think everybody who's got a social media account, you express your opinion like that. And I don't know where this journey's going to go. It could be success. It could be mundane. It could be failure. Who knows? I agree with the previous person. I think Ten Hag's success is not dictated to by himself solely. I think he has to have the backing, which he may not get consistently. But I cannot be any happier with this manager. I can't fake it. I can't pretend. I can't hype it. I'm so happy with this manager. He embodies everything I wanted. And I'm sure many of you are the same. I wanted, after Solskjaer, a reset. I wanted less of the connection with the old and the ex-players and the media and the happy-go-lucky, here we go, bloody winning team pictures. I wanted professionalism. I wanted a manager that didn't have a touch point with any of this lot, who comes in with his own ideas, a future manager, a manager for now, not the past. And I think with Ten Hag, we've got that. And he respects the club and he respects the fans. But it reminds me, I don't want to say Sir Alex Ferguson, because what Sir Alex Ferguson went on to achieve is unattainable. I don't think it can be repeated. But Sir Alex Ferguson didn't come to Manchester United with a touch point. He hadn't managed here. He hadn't played here. He was a very, very good manager from Aberdeen. And you can't replicate that. But I feel that this is why a lot of people want Ten Hag, a very good reputation in the game of football. from the Netherlands, comes over to Manchester United and reset. And I love having this manager in charge. And I'm very wary of every Man United manager's on thin ice because of what's above them. But I just think we've got to protect him at all costs, and he will make mistakes and he will do things that we don't agree with. And I've said it before, I don't agree with that. But my backing and support for him is 100%. I think he's done so much right in such a short period of time. And I think the fans love him. And I think those fans that didn't know much about him are loving him as well. So look, I'm very happy with the manager. And I think sometimes it's good to express publicly happiness, because we spent so much time over the last decade expressing dissatisfaction. What's wrong with actually just spending a couple of minutes to say, I'm really happy with what this manager's doing? Now, we've not won the league, and people will go, oh God, he's beaten some Moldovan, Poundland, Bristol City or whatever. They'll come out with all that. But you don't need to win a league title or a Champions League to be happy with your manager. It's about steps, isn't it? And so far, I'm really happy with the steps taken. So long may it continue. Let's talk about Donny van der Beek. So, let's talk about what Erik ten Hag said about Donny van der Beek. He was asked about Donny van der Beek, and he said, look, he's had a long time out. He was happy with what he did last night. He said, but he's back now. I'm happy to have him back now, and it's not about form. Now it's about him getting his form back. He's been out for a long time. He's only been back 1 week training. It was good to have him and Harry Maguire back yesterday. We need to get them some minutes because they're going to be important over the coming weeks. He also said that, look, can he be? He was then asked, would he have been a regular starter over the last few weeks? And he said, look, if he'd been fit over the last few weeks, he'd have had his chances. I like what Donny does. He gets goals and he's good in the defensive transition as well. I think Donny van der Beek's got a massive opportunity. We spoke about this after the international break a month ago, and we said this next 6 weeks are pivotal for Donny van der Beek. Like, if he doesn't play much before the World Cup break, we come back, it's the January transfer window, he might be knocking on the door saying he wants to go. And Erik ten Hag might agree with that. Obviously, we came back from that international break and he's not been fit for 4 weeks. So he's got 2 weeks now to show something. Can he stay fit? Can he be a real challenge to that first team? Because Donny van der Beek's not going to want to stay at United and be a bit part player for another year. So these next 2 weeks are big for Donny. But even in that little 10-minute cameo yesterday, I think we saw something that really is his best position. Obviously, under Solskjaer, we had Bruno, and we didn't want to play Donny there. We had McFred, and we wanted Donny to play there because no one rated McFred, and Bruno was our best midfielder. But I think now, because we've got Casemiro, we don't need to try Donny as a 6. I think he could have done it, but it's not really going to happen anymore, is it? Where Donny can play is in the 8 position and the 10 position. And look, Bruno and Eriksen do need some competition for those places. So Donny's got a real opportunity here. He's got to stay fit. He's got to get his form going. And when he gets an opportunity, he's got to grab it. Because what you have seen under Ten Hag, and you didn't see it under Solskjaer, is that if you come into the team and you play well, there's a very big chance you'll play the next game. And that's all any professional footballer wants. And we haven't had that in the time that Donny's been here. So first of all, he's got to stay fit. He's been very, very injury prone since January. Like, I don't know what this last injury he had was, but he's been out for pretty much most of this season. At Everton, he picked up a couple of injuries as well. So he's got to stay fit for a start. That is something I would bear in mind. And then he's got to grab his chance. But as I said before, and I think we all know it, if Donny van der Beek can't make it at Manchester United with Erik ten Hag, he's never going to make it. Hi Mark, opinions on Austrian winger Natur, says Johnny, don't know anything about him. And so look, very, very interested in Donny van der Beek and how he gets involved in the next few games. And the great thing about Donny and Maguire, and I mean, look, I don't know what the story is with Wan-Bissaka. He wasn't even on the bench. He may never play for Man United. But the good thing about these players is that they do offer rotation, and the games that we're about to play, apart from the Aston Villa Carabao Cup game, if you can get involved in those games, they're important games. So, if you impact an important game, you've got a chance of playing in the next game, and we've seen that. But it was not, just going back to squad rotation, it was good to see Malacia go to right back yesterday and give Delo a bit of a break. I think I was all for that as well. So that was on about Donny. I've just had a message come through. Just want to make sure it's nothing to do with football, because sometimes It is. Okay. It wasn't. Proud to be a Geordie. Mark's too smart to fall for baited super chats like that. Yeah, it's terrible, Johnny. It's the second time as well, which is why I said I've never heard of it. Kato, thank you very much for joining the members club. We've got a new members video going up for you, actually, about Casemiro. Hopefully we're going to get that up for today. I've got the chart show tomorrow, and 8 o'clock tonight we're going to be doing the preview live on the show as well. He's barely played, says Tristan, talking about Donny van der Beek. And Lee Holden says, the difference between the football being played under Ten Hag and Ollie is a huge gulf, in my opinion. It's night and day. It's chocolate mousse and shit. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't know why people can't speak openly about what they think. Solskjaer will always be a Man United legend to me. Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, they're legends, absolute legends. But they've retired. And I've criticised things that Scholes said, and I've praised things that Scholes said. I've criticised things that Gary Neville have said, and I've praised things that Gary Neville have said. Their legend status as players will never be forgotten. But it doesn't mean that they're legend, you know, they've got legend opinions or they're legend managers. When you retire as a footballer, that's parked. You then, if you go into punditry, you're open to be, you know, if you say something publicly and it's not what fans want to hear, they're going to say, I don't agree with that. We've got players who played for Man United who United fans don't really respect. You know, you can think of a few names. I'm not talking about those players we've spoken about there. But Solskjaer is... You know, look at someone like Tevez. United fans don't respect Tevez, but when he was in the shirt, he did quite well for us. He was a part of that, big part of that 08 win in Moscow. Not respected, is he? So once you leave United, doesn't mean that you stay respected forever. If you come out with something stupid or you do something stupid, like hold up a banner which basically is offensive to Sir Alex Ferguson, you're dusted, aren't you, Tevez? Literally. But with Solskjaer, he's a legend, but as a manager... I think Tony Pulis would have done a better job. So I'm tired of that sort of thing. Van der Beek knows Erik ten Hag's system. Glad to see him back, Mark, says Augustine. I think with Van der Beek, and this, I've always been a big fan of Van der Beek, and I know a lot of you are. My thing about Van der Beek is, when I look at Manchester United under Ten Hag, and I look at our struggles in the final third, you're right. Donny van der Beek has played that role for Ten Hag. He's played it for him. And what I liked about Donny last night is he just moves the ball really quickly, one touch, clever little runs here, there. You know what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago when we get a bit static, we get a bit side to side? Decoy runs, making runs that make space for other people. Donny van der Beek's fantastic at that. He's absolutely brilliant at it. So, look, we still don't know whether Donny van der Beek can make it in the Premier League. It's unbelievable. How many years has he been at the club? 2 and a bit? We don't know if Van der Beek can make it in the Premier League. Kagawa couldn't make it in the Premier League. Mkhitaryan couldn't make it in the Premier League. We don't know whether Donny can make it in the Premier League. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Donny van der Beek's going to be a success. He's got to take this opportunity. I want him to. Many of you do. The time is now. If he gets injured again or he's inconsistent again, I think it's over. There's a bit of pressure there, but everyone's behind him. But the bottom line is, no one can predict this because we don't actually know if he can do it in the Premier League. Some players just can't. So very, very excited to see how it works. And it's a welcome return. It is a welcome return. I got sent a message from Sahil Sharma. You're going to get a bit of a shout out here, Sahil. He basically sort of... Well, I wanted to know what you thought. I'm more than happy to bring stuff in. We get brilliant comments in the chat as well. We'll go to some of them in a minute. But basically, Sahil said... I'm tired of these ex-players, and he referenced Gary Neville on this, funnily enough, so sorry, Gary, you're going to get it from Sahil here. He said, I'm tired of listening to ex-players, and on this occasion, Gary Neville, telling everybody in the world that Ronaldo's not a Ten Hag player. Gary may be right, he may be wrong, but there's 4 or 5 other players that are not Ten Hag players, and yet nobody's saying or demanding that they need to be sold. You know why? Because Erik ten Hag might be able to turn those players into Ten Hag players, and he may well not be able to do it with Ronaldo. And Sahil referenced Harry Maguire. He said, Ronaldo's not a Manchester United player under Ten Hag. He doesn't suit the system, and yet we've got a centre-back who is 29, slow, and suits a back 5. He doesn't suit a high-line centre-back 2 who are left on their own. and yet he probably will play some games for Manchester United. So why can't Ronaldo? And it's a good point. It's a good point, and there's many layers to that. But I would say that, unfortunately, and I'm not just talking about ex-United players here, I'm talking about the media in general, they're like a dog with a bone. They have a hit list of players that they're just going to relentlessly go after. We've seen it with De Gea, we've seen it with Bruno, we've seen it with Ronaldo, and there's a hit list of players that they won't go after. And you very rarely get a cultured, balanced view. And you're right. Look, does Ronaldo suit Ten Hag's system? We even heard in the press conference Ten Hag referencing the pressing abilities of Anthony Martial. So that's important to Ten Hag. It is. And a lot of people say Ronaldo doesn't press. So is Ronaldo a Ten Hag player? Maybe, maybe not. But Wan-Bissaka's not a Ten Hag player. He can't attack. He can't invert. Harry Maguire is not a Ten Hag player because Harry Maguire likes to play in a back five with a deep line. He's not a player that you can leave on your own as a 2 against 2 like we did with Varane and Martinez against Son and Kane. You can't do that. You can't do that with Lindelof either. You can't leave Lindelof or Maguire in a 2v2 because they'll get exploited. So they're not. Is Scott McTominay a Ten Hag player? He hardly gets on the ball. And yet McTominay has had some good games for Ten Hag. And I'm sure Maguire will. And I'm sure Ronaldo will. This individualising this player's not a Ten Hag player is only a relevant point if you're actually going to go through the whole team. It's a bit of a witch hunt when it's just Ronaldo's not a Ten Hag type player. And I know he's been in the press and I know he's been in the news, but I think it's way too early. And I said this in the summer. I wouldn't have sold Maguire in the summer. Not that we would anyway. I wouldn't have sold McTominay. I wouldn't have sold Fred. There were some players I would have sold in the summer. I would have sold Wan-Bissaka because I think that was obvious. Phil Jones because it's well overdue. Eric Bailly, Alex Telles, Brandon Williams, Twan Sebi. That's 6 players I would have got rid of because they're either never going to get near the team or they just need to be moved on. Your Harry Maguires, your Scott McTominays, your Freds, anyone else like that, I'd have kept them for another year because they might not be Ten Hag players, but this is developmental year. And I think we can afford to keep Ronaldo, Maguire, McTominay, Fred, and anybody else who might not, Sancho maybe, who might not be Man United players because it's a developmental phase. And I'll guarantee you some of those players I've mentioned will end up being Ten Hag players because if you look at De Gea, who's another one who was on the list, his game has changed completely. De Gea never had the ball at his feet and he's now passing out from the back. Dalot's game has developed. So this whole Ronaldo's not a Ten Hag player, Maguire's not a Ten Hag player. Well, they're not compared to last year, but neither was David De Gea. And David De Gea is now, if you compare De Gea last season to his ability to come out of his box and pass, night and day. So I don't buy into such and such is not a Ten Hag type of player because they are part of this squad till summer and they will be given their chances. I think Maguire would suit West Ham red, but we need him at the moment. I mean, we'll talk more about Maguire on the 8 o'clock show because I think it's going to be a big conversation. But yeah, I don't know what's happened to Phil Jones, Savage. Look, in the interests of being nice, because there's no reason to be horrible about this, Phil Jones, since he got that contract, I wouldn't even want to open my eyes to read how many times he's been injured. How many days? I mean, you know what? If this is why you know the Glazers don't care about Man United. Because if I was in charge of Man United and Phil Jones had been given a 5-year contract when he'd been injured for most of the previous 3 years, I'd have that person in my office and I would be saying, on a scale of 100%, 99% to 100%, how much of an idiot are you? But if you look at when Phil Jones had that contract and you looked at how many days he's been injured, it would be horrific. It would be horrific. And nobody wishes injury on a player, but we never should have given him that contract. And I mean, the horrible thing with Phil Jones is he's just going to basically run his contract down, isn't he? It's the only thing he can do. I don't even blame him. Nobody's going to buy him. If he's on 80 grand a week, he's never going to get that. Never in a million years. So we're stuck with him. And I think his contract might... In fact, let's just have a look. I think his contract... I mean, he's an irrelevance, isn't he? Because he's just not fit. But I don't know what the situation is with his contract. So we gave him a new contract in 2019, and he's got so it's next summer we can get rid of him. 2023 with the option for a further year. So we gave him a 4-year contract in February 2019, and it's up in June next summer with the option of another year. I mean, knowing United, we'll probably give him another year. But yeah, he'll be gone. He'll be gone next summer anyway. So it's an irrelevance. Brandon says, I've trashed McTominay for the last 2 years. Now I'm seeing him show for balls and making intelligent decisions. This is a multi-year process, says Brandon. Hi, Mark. Love the jumper. Do you know if it's machine washable or hand wash only? Give me a minute. I don't want to get my fat tummy out, but I'll talk to you about Scott McTominay while I'm doing that. You know the thing about McTominay for me, basically the thing about McTominay for me is that he's doing what I wanted him to do. He's basically a bench player. Now, over the next 2 years, he might not be happy being a bench player, and he might not want to do that, but that's what you are. Unless your game goes up to ridiculous levels, he is a bench player at Manchester United. So I've put this inside out now and I can't bloody get it back on. It is machine washable. You just got to be careful with it. But he's doing his job, isn't he? He's doing his job now, which is a bench player. Same as Fred. Like they're never going to start games if we're playing Liverpool and everyone's fit. They're never going to start games against Man City if everyone's fit. They're just not first teamers in that sense. They almost become and they're not as good, but they almost become the Phil Neville of the team. They become the John O'Shea of the team. And you need those types of players. So I'm very happy with what McTominay's doing at the moment. I agree with you, Brandon. Whether we need both of them, I think one of Fred or McTominay will need to go. I don't think we need to keep both. I think we need to bring another midfielder in, a development player. But yeah, it's he's having a better season and he's being appreciated more because he's out of the team. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, how old is he? 25. So he's 26 in next month. In December, he's 26. So got a contract till 2025. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having squad players like that, is there? I think that's sort of what's important at Manchester United. We need that. Okay, there we go. Goldbridge is back. Have you got any info about Varane's injury? Says Abdullah. Only what Deschamps said. So basically, Deschamps has said that he won't take Pogba or Varane if they're not going to be fit for the first game against Australia. So, I mean, he's not going to play for Man United. He might not go to the World Cup. I hope he does go to the World Cup because I'd like to see Varane in potentially one of his last World Cups at 29. I'd like to see Varane play. But we'll have to see what his decision is on that. Anyway, I'm going to go because it's been a good press conference reaction. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, by the way. Smash a like. And don't forget, if you want to get yourself a Christmas jumper, we do deliver them worldwide. They're knitted this year. Lovely design. 20 times. Number 20 on the back. All 20 league titles there as well. 13 Premier League, 7 Old Division 1. Welcome to the Members Club, Hussein. They are shipping out from Monday. So get your pre-orders in. When they're gone, they're gone. There are some left. Check it out. And Ryan says, thoughts on the captaincy for the future? That's on the show at 8 o'clock tonight, Ryan. We're going to do the preview, and that is a big topic on the show tonight. Who should get the captaincy for the future? Jones is on 75k a week. Have a laugh. He should be on 40k. Says Tumbleweed. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll see you at 8 o'clock. Don't forget to get your orders in if you want to get a Christmas jumper. I'm on Twitch at 3